you have found your spot to be in these moments. And then once you settle in physically, I would invite you to go ahead and close your eyes or just cast your eyes down and just allow yourself to separate from the busyness that's around you, from the busyness that's in your head, from all the busyness that you know is waiting for you tomorrow and the days to follow. And let's just commit for these few minutes to be here and now. Because that really is all that our meditation practice asks of us, is just to be present, to find our way to the here and the now, and then see what is revealed. And so as we each begin to settle in, let's begin to find a rhythm of breath that feels empowering and nurturing all at the same time. So very slowly, take a long breath in, and then just as slowly, let it go. Inhale again, slow breath. Exhale, slow release. Inhale again. Exhale, let it go. And just go one more time together. And then you find a rhythm that feels right for you. It could be that same rhythm we just began. It could be a little slower. It could be a little faster. But our goal in meditation, while we're trying to find our way into this present moment, is to be comfortable. And that's not just comfortable in your hips and your knees and your back, but it's also comfortable in the pace of your breath. So just honor however you're feeling in this moment. Be aware of it. Give yourself compassion and do it by the way that you breathe. And so our focus for these few minutes that we have is all about patience. One of the most loved and avoided topics in most of our lives. We love when patience is extended to us, and we avoid the topic when it's our turn to extend it because it's difficult. It asks something of us that often we're not even sure that we are able to give. But what I'd like for each of us to do, wherever you are in your space, whether you're listening to this right now or later on, I would like for each of us just to reflect on what is your biggest challenge right now. And for some of us, it's a very immediate thing happening right now in our lives. For some of us, it's something from a long time ago, and it's still causing a challenge. And if you aren't quite sure what that thing is, maybe ask yourself, what is the biggest trauma that has found its way into me that I just can't seem to turn loose of? So either way you want to approach it, our goal in these moments is to be aware, to actually name what it is that we are struggling with. Our meditation practice does not ask us to get good enough or to become something. It asks us just to show up as we are, to be aware of who we are, what we're struggling with, and learn to accept that person. And so just name it in your head, be aware of it. It doesn't mean that you're giving it more power or more of a foothold in your life. It means that you are so aware that this is the spot where I'm struggling. And when you're aware of it, it's going to have a lot less power to catch you by surprise or to have an impact on you that you weren't expecting. And so as we've each thought of what this thing is, and again, it could be something right here and now that you're working through, and it could be something from years ago that still has a grip on your heart. But whatever it is for each of us, I want to ask you a question. And it is a very old question. It comes from Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher. And he had this way of asking this question that really just makes you pause, because the answer seems so obvious. But when we answer this question, it actually requires something of us. He said, Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and your water becomes clear? And when he asked that question, the mud he's talking about is that thing you just named. We each have mud in our life. Think about it. When you're looking out across a pond and you see the water, sometimes it's so still and so clear you could almost see down at the bottom. But when there's something that's happening, whether it's a boat that's come through or you've stepped in the water or you've thrown a rock or a fish has jumped, whatever it is, the water gets agitated. And when it gets agitated, it's no longer clear. The stuff from the bottom gets stirred up. The mud starts to move, and it makes things cloudier. It makes it harder to see. And even though he said this or asked this question, said this quote so long ago, it is still so very relevant for us now, because we all have mud. And what he's asking of us is, do you have the patience to just be still, to stop trying to fix things, to stop trying to get our grip on things and try to control it? What he's asking is, do you have the patience to just wait? And he doesn't say if the mud clears. He says until, which means it's going to settle and the water will become clear again. And so just recall that thing that you brought to mind just a few moments ago. And let's just kind of insert that into the question where he asked about mud. And so when I ask the question with mud, you see that thing. And so I ask of myself and you ask of yourself, do I have the patience to wait until my mud, my thing settles and my water becomes clear again? And then he goes on, and there's deeper teachings that follow that question when he says, this doesn't mean that you're not acting. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you're not giving effort. But what he tells us to do with that question is to do the right action, to give the right effort. And the only way we're going to know what that is if we pause and we grow patient and we wait. And I started off this time and I said patience is something we absolutely love when it's given to us. But when it's our time to extend it, even in a situation for ourselves, it is really, really difficult. When we are hurting, or we are suffering, or we feel like we're stuck, or we're frustrated, our human tendency is to just barrel through and try to fix it and just get through it. But unfortunately, that is not how life was created. We were created to experience life, to experience an incredible and delicious meal, to experience the company of a precious friend, to experience the love of a significant other in our life. None of those things were we meant just to barrel through and get through it. We are meant to experience them. But the same is true for our struggles, for our mud. We can't just hunker down and push through. And the way that we experience these things that is the most healthy for us is we pause and we find patience to wait for that mud to settle and the water to become clear again. Just go back to that pond analogy. If you're looking out across this lovely pond and all of a sudden something comes along and disrupts it, You can't make it clear again by getting in there yourself and stirring it up. You have to just wait. And I am speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to each of you that is listening. We want to get in there and just fix it. Just pat that mud back down and get it into its place where it belongs. But we have to learn patience. So we're going to sit together for just the next couple of moments in quiet. And what I would encourage you to do, and I'm going to do it as well, don't picture that thing, that suffering, that trauma, that mud. Instead, let's just each sit with this visualization of the most beautiful pond you have ever seen. Maybe there's lotus flowers or lilies sitting on the top of it. Maybe there's incredible green grass surrounding it. There's a deer tucking his head down to drink. I don't know what image comes to your mind, but just picture a pond. Picture a pond that's not agitated, where the surface of the water is still and calm. And we know there's mud down there, but it's not shaking things up. It's being still, just like the pond. Those are our experiences that have already passed. They don't have a foothold in our life anymore. They're still part of our story, but they're not shaking things up anymore. So as you sit in the quiet for the next couple of minutes with me, just see that. See that pond, that stillness, that clarity, and continue to breathe. Let's take a long, slow, deep breath in. And then sigh it out. And another long, slow breath in. And sigh it out. And as we head into our week and our days that follow, I would encourage each of us, and I would encourage myself as well, to remember the picture of the calm, clear, unagitated pond, and to see it when things start to get a little agitated in your life. People will come across your path and disappoint you and frustrate you and annoy you and make all of these tests come of your patience. But let's go back to that question that Lao Tzu asked when he said, do I have the patience to wait until my mud settles and my water becomes clear? Let's practice patience in the little things, at the coffee shop, at work, at school, in traffic. And what we'll find out about ourselves is that when we practice patience in the small, seemingly inconsequential parts of life, all of a sudden it becomes our default in the bigger parts of life. And instead of patience being something that we dread and we have to work at, it is just who we are. So I wish for you a peaceful night's sleep and a day tomorrow where you are working and learning to be patient and let your mud settle, knowing that the water will become clear again. Namaste.